Ho, 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 let's deep fry turkey. Hello and welcome to Big Friendly Grub. I hope you are well, and that was a little bit of a clickbaity intro, I'll admit. I'm not actually going to deep fry a whole turkey. This isn't the USA and I don't have anything big enough to deep fry a whole turkey. But I am going to be deep frying turkey today. You see, I was sitting down the other day, I was having a think about what Christmas videos I can do, and I was thinking about how one of my favourite dishes in the world is fried chicken and waffles. It seems like an odd combination, but it absolutely works. And I was thinking, how can I make that Christmassy? So today I'm going to be attempting deep fried turkey with Bubble and Squeak Waffles with a cranberry gravy. It sounds like an amazing thing on paper, but can I get it to work? So I'm going to be making waffles, but I'm going to be incorporating leftover roast potatoes and Brussels sprouts. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, you're wrong. But you could use cabbage instead if that's how you like your Bubble and Squeak. And the star of the show is going to be deep fried turkey legs and thighs, which I'm going to season in onion and sage to kind of give it like that sagey, oniony stuffing flavour. So it's a bit ambitious, I've never tried it before, but I wanted to give it a go. So I've got myself a whole turkey here. It's like a medium-sized one. It's not huge because I'm just going to be using the legs and the thighs, and I will save the crown for another time. But it's still a really good sized turkey. I've got the best that I can afford, because if you are buying turkey this year or any year, make sure you can get the best that you can afford. Make sure it's a free range one to make sure that it had the best life possible before it ends up on your table, because just because you are eating the animal, you've got to make sure it's had a good life beforehand. Always make sure that your animal welfare is on point, basically. So yeah, I'm basically doing a twist on fried chicken and waffles. I'm really excited to try it. It's going to take a little bit of a while because we're going to be marinating that turkey in buttermilk just to get some flavour and really tenderize it. And hopefully this is going to be a really nice twist on a classic dish for Christmas. So let's give it a go. So I've got my whole turkey here, and even though it's a medium-sized one, it's still nearly bigger than my chopping board, but it fits on. And like I said, all I want is the leg and the thigh from this, so I'm going to need to remove that. Basically, when you've just got this part, it's called the turkey crown. So I can save that for another day, put it in the freezer, it will still be great. So I want to remove all of this part from the carcass, so I'm going to have to do that myself. I've got myself a nice cleaver here, nice and sharp, that will help me get through that bone, because I want to keep that bone. It's going to give it loads of flavour, hopefully keep the turkey nice and succulent, because turkey can dry out if you overcook it, like anything really, but turkey can be especially prone to that. So I want to get in between here where the joints are with a cleaver, get down to where the bone is. This makes you squeamish, look away, get through all the skin. I want to keep that skin, and basically you can probably see where there's a joint there, and the cut down through that as best as I can. There we go, there we go, that is one off. See, really nice big juicy turkey thigh and leg. It's going to be the dark meat as well, which is going to be really flavoursome. It's a lot darker than chicken would be. And let's do the same to the other side. There we go, I've got two really nice turkey legs and thighs there, which are going to be amazing. I'm going to break off these parts because, to be honest, we don't need those, but I will save them because they can be used for a stock. Always try and use every single part of the turkey because it's just respectful to the animal, really. I know there's people who would disagree, which is absolutely fine, but I think if you are a meat eater, then you owe it to the animal to use every single part of the animal. So I want to get these marinated, but first things first, I'm just going to score into the meat to get down to the bone. That will help this cook in the deep fryer, but also allow that marinade to work its way in. So for our marinade, I'm going to add into this very large bowl a litre's worth of buttermilk, because buttermilk is fantastic for marinating meats. It's slightly acidic, which really helps tenderize the meat. Then I want to season this, so I'm adding a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of onion granules, 2 tablespoons of dried sage, and some peps. Stir that all in well. Then I'm going to pop in my thighs into here, my thighs and legs. So you can see that's all submerged into that marinade really nicely. I'm going to cover the bowl with cling film, and I'm going to pop this into the fridge and let it marinate for a good few hours. You're probably best off leaving it overnight, but I think a good few hours is the least you need to do it for. So into the fridge with this, and we'll be back in a few hours. Okay, my turkey's had a few hours marinating, but before I do anything else, I'm going to make the gravy, because I can make that and then just heat it up again later when I need it if it cools down too much. So I'm going to do that. It's something you can do ahead of time and just heat it up again. So for my cranberry gravy, first off, I'm going to start off with a couple of tablespoons of corn flour. This is going to thicken up the gravy. And I'm going to add 50 millilitres of cranberry juice into this and just work it into a paste. Look at that lovely pink colour. I say a paste, it won't be a paste at this stage, but it will help thicken up our sauce. Right, I've got a pan over a medium-high heat, and I'm just going to pop in 500 millilitres of chicken stock. Just let that come up to a simmer. Right, my chicken stock has come up to a simmer, so into that I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons worth of cranberry sauce. I'm going to stir that in until it dissolves. Then when that's all dissolved in, I'm going to add in some cranberries which I've had rehydrating in some cranberry juice. If you wanted to, you could use port instead of cranberry juice, but I don't drink and I never really like port anyway, even when I did drink. So I'm using cranberry juice. So I'm going to pop those in. It's about 50 grams worth of cranberries there. Then I'm adding in 50 millilitres worth of double cream, and then our corn flour and cranberry juice mixture. Then I'm going to stir that all together and bring it back up to a simmer. Now that's back up and bubbling away, I'm just going to let it do that until it thickens down into a nice gravy-like consistency, because nobody likes a thin, runny gravy. Right, that gravy has been bubbling away for a good 20 minutes and it's thickening up nicely now to the point where it's almost ready. But I'm going to give this a taste, because always taste your sauces and things like that as you go along. Oh, it's nice, but it needs some sweetness in it because the cranberries are quite sharp. So it's sharp, but it needs something to offset it. So because we're doing waffles, I think we need some maple syrup in it. So I'm going to put in a tablespoon's worth of lovely maple syrup, because fried chicken and waffles, you have maple syrup over it. So this is a homage to that. So in goes a tablespoon, maybe 2 actually. I think that should do nicely. Don't want it too sweet. That's better. That's nice. It's got that right balance of sweet and sharp, and get that cranberry flavour, but there's some of the savouriness from the chicken stock as well. That's really nice. I am happy with that, and I am happy with the thickness. And I'm going to transfer this into a jug where it can stay warm, and if I need to reheat it, it can just go into the microwave. Right, we're now ready to do the crispy coating for our fried turkey. So I've got 250 grams worth of plain flour in here, but I'm also going to add a couple of tablespoons of corn flour, because I want this to be a really nice crispy coating. So I'm adding in corn flour. Then to amp up that Christmassy flavour, I'm adding in a couple of tablespoons of sage, like we did our marinade. Nearly forgot the word there. And again, a couple of tablespoons of onion granules. And a pinch of salt as well, because any chef worth his salt would tell you to season your food as you go. I'm going to mix that all in together so it's all well combined. Then, keeping one hand for the wet and one for the dry, I'm going to dredge in my turkey legs so they're all nicely coated. And those are now ready to be deep fried. And that's why you only use one hand for the wet and dry stuff, because the other one can stay clean. And all the girlies say he's pretty fried for a white guy. Sorry, had to do that joke. Right, for frying our turkey, I've got a deep fat fryer here, which is at about 185 degrees C. If you don't have one of these, then you can use a pan of oil, but for goodness sake, be careful with it. Make sure it's up to the right temperature, make sure it stays the right temperature, and do not leave it unattended. So, but I have a deep fat fryer, so that's what I'm going to use. Makes life a heck of a lot easier, and personally I think safer. So I'm just going to take one of the legs and gently lower that into the oil. I think I'm only going to be able to do one at a time because of the size of them. And I'm just going to gently move that around for a bit, because I don't want it to stick to the basket. After a while it'll be fine once it starts to crisp up. So that's going to need probably about a good 15 to 20 minutes in there to make sure everything's nice and golden brown, and most importantly the turkey leg is cooked through. So probably about 15-20 minutes in that oil, I would say. Right, that has had a good 13-14 minutes I think, and that is done. I reckon you've got some lovely golden bits, you've got some slightly darker bits, but that's fine. That's probably about the right sort of stage. So I'm going to just go in with a temperature probe, meat thermometer, and some of the thickest bits. It should be about 76 degrees C internal, and yep, it is well over that. I'm just going to probe in a few different places just to make sure it's well cooked through. Yes, yes it is. I'm just going to pop that onto a tray and it can go into the oven just to stay warm while I cook the other one. In we go. Might not actually need as long. I think I'm actually going to try 12 minutes for this one. Right, this one has had about 12 minutes and personally I think that's going to be about right. Let's go in with the probe. Yep. And now, careful of that, we can get on with our waffles. We're nearly there. Right, we can now do our Bubble and Squeak waffles. And if you don't know what Bubble and Squeak is, it's a British dish which is generally made out of onions, mashed potato and things like cabbage, or in my case Brussels sprouts this time, and we use it generally from leftovers and things like that. And it's called Bubble and Squeak because that's kind of the noise that the potato and cabbage makes in the pan when you're frying it. But obviously I'm not frying anything today. Well, I've fried the turkey, but I'm not frying the Bubble and Squeak today. It's going into waffles. Speaking of waffle, I'm doing too much of it. First, before I do the waffle batter, I want to prep my bits and pieces that are going into the Bubble and Squeak part of it. So I've got some leftover Brussels sprouts here. If you don't like Brussels sprouts, you can use cabbage, but personally I love Brussels sprouts, and I'm just going to chop these up roughly. Doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason to it. And these Brussels sprouts were fried in a pan in oil and butter, and that makes them amazing. If you boil the crap out of your sprouts, then they're going to be horrible, and that'll be why they taste like farts, because nobody cooks them properly. But if you cook them in a pan with butter and bacon and chestnuts, then they will be amazing. There we go, that would be pretty good, I'd say. All fairly roughly chopped, different shapes and sizes. And speaking of bacon, I've got some bacon lardons here which I've already cooked. They're going in as well. And to cram in as many Christmas flavours as possible, I'm going to use some cooked chestnuts as well. So I'm going to roughly chop those up as well. You can buy these in packs. You don't have to cook them yourselves. They're already nicely cooked and nice and soft. In those go too. Then lastly, I'm going to chop up some leftover roast potatoes. I love a cold roast potato. If you don't have roast potatoes, again, mashed potatoes fine. This is Christmas, there's bound to be roast potatoes. Roughly chopped roast potatoes go into there as well. I might not use all this mixture for the waffles, but this is everything I had, so I'm going to use it. So mix that all together with my hands, just get all those flavours mixed together. Then you need some onion in your Bubble and Squeak, so I've got half an onion here, because it's quite a big onion, which I'm just going to roughly chop. And that goes into the mix as well. Then for the actual waffle part, we want 225 grams of plain flour, a couple of tablespoons of sugar, because we actually want some colour in this. This will help give it a nice golden colour. We don't want too much because we don't want them sweet, but we want enough to give them some colour. Just whisk that all together, gets out any lumps. And I'm going in with 4 beaten eggs, 25 grams of melted butter, 25 grams of duck fat because it's Christmas and we want this a bit savoury, 50 millilitres of milk and 284 millilitres of buttermilk. And then I'm going to whisk that all together until it's nice and smooth and lump free. Then I'm just going to start folding through some of the Bubble and Squeak part. Again, probably not all of it. I can always save that for some actual Bubble and Squeak another time. I'm going to fold that through and just judge it by eye. That looks good to me. A nice mix of Bubble and Squeak and waffle. Right, now we can get this into our waffle maker. I'm really excited about this because I'm making this up as I go along, but it could be brilliant or it could be a disaster. Who knows? It's pretty much how I live my entire life. Right, my waffle maker has heated up. I'm just going to brush it with some butter. I shouldn't need to because, to be honest, there is butter and duck fat in there already, but this is just to make sure it doesn't stick and also give it a bit more chance of browning as well. And I'm going to go in with a couple of ladlefuls of my batter. Don't want to overfill it because it will overflow, but to be honest, that's what the moat is for on this fancy waffle maker of mine. I treated myself a little while ago. I reckon that's enough because by the time I press it down, it should reach out to all the edges, I reckon. Yeah, see that's squeezing out the sides, but that's fine because again, that's what the moat's for. Now I just let that do its thing until it's a nice golden brown. These are now done. Look at that, lovely golden brown Bubble and Squeak waffle. It smells amazing. Now all I need to do is just trim off this excess and then I can get this served up. I just need to reheat my gravy and I'll be good to go. Oh yeah, look at that. Deep fried turkey with a bubble and squeak waffle with cranberry gravy. Madness, genius, who knows? The only way to find out is to try it. It's been a bit of an experiment. There are probably things I could change, probably things I'd tweak, but overall, I think that looks pretty good. It smells great, it smells fantastic. I think the first thing I want to try is this turkey. There's a bit here without any of the sauce, which I'm just going to probably just bite into like a savage, I'm afraid. So let's give this a go. Oh, that is some of the most succulent turkey I think I've ever had. Absolutely beautiful and juicy. Look at that. Got that lovely, lovely crunchy coating on it. And then, yeah, you've got those onion and sagey flavours in it, which has gone into the meat as well because of our marinade. That's beautiful. Then let's go in to a bit with the sauce. I'm not going to bite into that like a savage because it's got sauce all over it, and it'll go all over my beard and stuff like that. Let's get some of the meat, some of the batter, and some of that cranberry gravy. That's really nice. Get a bit of sweetness, but also some sharpness from the cranberries in that gravy. It's really nice. Then lastly, I'm going to try some of the bubble and squeak waffle, just by itself to start off with. Oh yeah, that is bubble and squeak in waffle form. That tastes bang on. It's really good. Go try it with a bit of the sauce. Yeah. Oh, that all works really, really well. That all works really, really well. I'm surprised at how well it works. To be honest, it's delicious. I'm really happy with that. You know, you think of things and you go, will that work? It works, trust me, it works. It's a lot of effort, but well, as a way to kind of mix things up at Christmas, I think it's definitely worth a go. At least once. A lot of people go on about how much I waffle. Well, there's a waffle that you can get behind. Well, I should change the channel name to Big Passive Aggressive Grub. Deep fried turkey with bubble and squeak waffles and cranberry gravy. Done! Came out really. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that video. Something a bit different for Christmas. I mean, it's a different Christmas for us all anyway. Yeah, you might be able to get to see your family, you might not. Who knows? But whatever you do this Christmas, just stay safe. Use your common sense. You know, just take care of each other. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to find out when new videos are going up, and I will see you next time on Big Friendly Grub. Bye!